alcoholics living in a house with booze. There is a plan in Troy to open what is known as a wet house. It's a shelter for alcoholics that allows them to drink on site, and taxpayer dollars would fund it. Pat Bailey has more on our top story.
The neighbors around the property in question in South Troy say they're not necessarily against a wet house, they're just against one in their backyard. However, the woman pushing to have it built says it must go in this part of town because the property is commercial and South Troy is the only part of town that does not yet have a shelter.
It's a solution for some very, very challenged and ill people.
Tracy Neitzel says the only difference between this type of shelter in downtown Troy and a wet house is the availability of alcohol to alcoholics.
They don't have to lie about their use, because if they don't have to lie about their use, then we can talk about the problems that their use creates. We can talk about their disease and we can talk about their solutions.
But those who live near the proposed site on Hill Street in South Troy say the facility will bring problems. What do you fear could happen?
A drunk could harm a child. A child sees a drunk on the ground somewhere, wherever, sitting there, they don't understand, and it's a fear.
Another concern for many is who would fund the shelter. Neitzel says it would be built with federal and state grant money. Is this a good use of taxpayer dollars?
Absolutely. It's a huge cost savings to the local community.
Neitzel says alcoholics under her care are not only less of a problem, but cheaper than being on the streets.
It costs about $70,000 to $100,000 a year to keep someone with alcoholism on the streets homeless. When you add up the emergency rooms, the open container laws, the jail stays, the shelter stays, the hospital stays, the crisis hospitalizations, it's incredibly expensive to the community. It costs about $18,000 a year to keep somebody in supportive housing.
But the costs are far more than monetary to these residents.
Troy's bad enough. We don't need it down here.
The neighbors living in that area say they have a petition and many people have signed on, and they will bring it to the planning board. Meantime, the woman behind the push to have the wet house built says she plans to meet with those neighbors to inform them of her specific plans. Reporting in the Albany Bureau, Pat Bailey, CBS 6 News.